Now.
On 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
It is 6:07 on O'Connor and Company on a very somber morning as we go through all of the details that we're learning and continue to learn about the mid-air collision over Reagan Airport last night at 9 p.m. The rescue effort continues in the Potomac. There are 64 passengers and crew on the American Airlines jet coming out of Wichita, Kansas, 3 crew members of the Army Black Hawk helicopter, and as we get information, we will convey it directly to you. We are involved in information here, not speculation. So if you're looking for speculation and wild theories, please, I think that there's plenty of places you could go, but not here. Coming up later this morning, in 10 minutes, we're going to check in with Lieutenant Colonel Tony Schaefer, who is an Army Intelligence retired officer, and then we tap into his expertise on what this investigation looks like and what could have been going on with that Black Hawk helicopter based on his expertise. 6:35, Reagan Reese, White House correspondent for Daily Caller. 8:05, KT McFarland. And then at 8:35, Phil Kerpen on the RFK hearings yesterday. It's Larry O'Connor. Mercedes Schlapp. And Mercedes, your family, as we've mentioned, have connections back to Wichita, and your family often takes this flight coming in from Kansas on a regular basis, right? It's a new flight from Wichita, just about a year old, into Reagan.
Yeah, and my niece, for example, her parents, she lives here in Virginia, Laura Schlapp. Her parents fly on that flight all the time. I mean, we have family coming constantly from Wichita to D.C. as we go to Wichita as well. So it's very personal for us. Grandma Sue called me last night and was, saying, goodness, we probably know somebody on that flight, and just was really heartbroken by it. But, I think that you're looking at the fact that the response has been, the rescue response, they've moved quickly. You saw the Secretary of Transportation, Sean Duffy, there, as well as the Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, and then Pete Hegseth, because obviously you've seen this Black Hawk helicopter involved, Larry. Yep. He's also said that they're launching an investigation into what has happened as well. But, FAA has issued a ground stop at Reagan National Airport till 11, and then flights are going to be halted till 11 a.m. And sent over to Dulles Airport. So I think there's a lot of movement happening here in terms of getting to the bottom of it.
And if you believe you know somebody from Wichita on that flight, or from Washington returning from Wichita, American Airlines wants to hear from you. 800-679-8215. That number for American Airlines, specifically for friends or family of those that could have been on this flight, 5342. The number is 800-679-8215. As Mercedes just said, Reagan Airport right now will not be having any air traffic until 11 o'clock. As of now, that could change. Could be pushed back even further. Flights are going to be going out of Dulles. BWI is operational. Joining us right now, Cully Stimson, who ironically also is flying today. He's a senior legal fellow at Heritage Foundation. And Cully, were you planning on flying out of Reagan and you've been diverted to Dulles, or were you always going to go out of Dulles?
No, I was going out of Dulles, and what a horrible morning. My heart goes out to all those families. Apparently some athletes, national ranked athletes were on that. Gosh, what a horrible day.
Yeah, it really is. And I know with your Army background and you used to work in the Pentagon, the fact that an Army aircraft is involved with this is going to add another layer of investigation to the proceedings. And as an attorney, I don't know if you've had any experience with that sort of thing coming out of the Pentagon, and what sort of mobilization is done there to sort of work hand in glove with the federal authorities as well. Can you shed a little light on that?
Yeah. Well, first off, I was a naval officer, as you know, and your daughter serves honorably in our Navy. And I did actually do an aviation mishap investigation when I was deployed to Africa. And so I think that this will be obviously a combined investigation between NTSB, the military, mainly Army Aviation, and local authorities. There's obviously footage of this crash. Yeah. So you'll have to get to the bottom of this, and the facts matter. So Tony probably can tell you more about Army protocol in terms of flying in restricted airspace over national. Mm-hmm. But, we'll get to the bottom of this. All planes have black boxes. Army helicopters probably have sophisticated information on board that could leak comms that maybe the public won't be able to get, that be able to tell us what happened and why it happened.
Cully Stimson, you're also an expert on detainee affairs during the War on Terror, and that involved Guantanamo Bay, of course, where there are facilities that were created specifically for terrorists, and it's relatively empty now, but President Trump says that if there are horrible, hardened, violent criminals here that are illegal aliens and their countries can't take them, or if we don't believe their countries will properly detain them, he wants to send them to Gitmo. What does that look like?
Well, this is history repeating itself, Mercedes and Larry, because the CO, the commanding officer of Naval Station Guantanamo, not the Joint Terrorism Task Force down there that has only 15 detainees on the other side of the base, but that CO is dual-hatted and has been dual-hatted. Not only is she or he the head of the Navy base, it's a small one, but they're also the head of migrant ops. And back in the Clinton administration, they actually used Guantanamo for tens of thousands of Haitian and Cuban refugees who put out to sea, and we built a tent city there. And we've had that there. I wrote about it at the Daily Signal, which is our blog. And so we've had tens of thousands of Guantanamo detainees at Guantanamo who are not terrorists, migrants. And so they're already trained to and equipped for migrant operations. And so when Secretary Hegseth says they can do this, they've done it. And they're prepared for it, and they train to it.
Now they're looking at the fact that they're looking to send 30,000 criminal illegal aliens. What's the capacity at Guantanamo Bay? How many people could, in fact, they hold if this number increases?
They can easily handle 30,000, Mercedes, and probably more. And my guess is, if history is prologue here, as past as prologue, that they'll go there. And there'll be a revolving door. People will go there, and then from there it'll be a staging point to their home countries. Some will take longer because other countries will be a little recalcitrant to take some of these folks back. But they have a huge area. There are pictures on the internet you can find where there were tent cities, not only on the old World War II air base landing strip there, but on the golf course there. So they have ample capacity for this.
And the president clearly is there, going back to the Clinton administration, as you laid out. I remember the Haitian migrant issue at the time. I don't remember Gitmo being active.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
There's no concerns, though, legally in terms of the handshake between the military, homeland security, and operation involving immigration protocols and border security. There's that's not a civilian operation, or if it is an operation through homeland security, there's nothing wrong with using military for it, right?
It won't impact detention operations for terrorist detainees at all. The main capacity limiter down there is fresh water, because they have a desalination plant, and the Cuban government does not let us use their fresh water. So that's the only limiting factor down there, is the desalination plant. But they can ship water in.
Okay, I was going to say, how do they handle the water situation while in the Cuba, being in that area in Guantanamo Bay?
We built our own desalination plant in the early 60s and updated it since then, because the Cuban government is not terribly friendly with us on that.
Right.
And so, again, that was an issue when we were sending terrorist detainees down there, but we have barges and other equipment ready to be deployed over to Guantanamo to help with that. So that is the only limiting factor.
Yeah.
We got to leave it there. Cully Stimson, absolutely great stuff. Thank you for informing our audience. That's the thing that you do best, and we appreciate it. And travel safely today out of Dulles.
Thank you very much, folks. Appreciate it.
It is 6:15 WMA.